Kia ora, talofa, hi, and welcome to episode 4 of Tanurumanga's TEEM Talk, proudly sponsored by Victual, New Zealand's first health and wellbeing supplement that combines ancient Māori and Pacifica wisdom and ingredients. And it's a real honour and a privilege to have on my show today, Michael Bennett, Super Bowl champion with the Seattle Seahawks, 3 times Pro Bowler, author and philanthropist, and I'm sure plenty more. How is it, brother?
It's good. You made me feel important, man. You had a lot of
you are
titles in time. No, it's so good, man. It's good to be. It's an honor to be on your show. I got so much respect for you and everything you do in the community, but also the way you play the game. And I look up to you too. So it's good.
I appreciate that, Michael. And look, I must say it is a huge honor to have someone of your standing on the show, and that's someone I can call on to have a chat, with with what you've done and what you are doing. So you retired in, we haven't caught up for a while. So you retired in the 2020 season. And so what are you doing with yourself now?
No, it was interesting because COVID, it was like happened, and like I was in the middle of like making a decision, like, do I want to continue or do I want to, leave healthy, so because sometimes you leave the game and you're so beat up that you aren't able-bodied enough you leave a broken person to your family, basically. It's like that, so you got to find that balance, as and I was lucky because during COVID I was in New Zealand a lot of the time, because I always go to New Zealand for March, and I spent most of my March and April in New Zealand. And so I had a lot of time to reflect. I was down in Hawke's Bay, and I just had a lot of time to reflect on everything that I had done in the league and things that I want to do in the future. And I was at peace. I mean, I saw a lot of lamb walking up through, and it made me wonder as I look at Tuki River. And so I was, that kind of helped me choose if I wanted to still play the game or not. And I felt just like if the game was changing, I felt like I just wanted to be healthy mentally, especially everything that's happening with concussions, as I see in rugby, is starting to be a big conversation around concussions and injury, brain trauma for players that play physical sports like we do. And so I had a chance to retire. I think now that I retired, I'm back in school, obviously running all my businesses that I got, and then also like doing my philanthropy stuff. So I stay pretty busy, well-rounded, and I'm playing a lot of tennis. I took tennis up as another. It was like everybody's playing golf, and I started playing tennis, and I just kind of got really hooked into tennis.
Oh, yeah, I've seen a little video of your serves there.
Yeah, they get better. I as an athlete, sometimes you think because of your sport is so physical that it's the most physical sport there is out there. Like football players look at basketball players and say, "Oh, you're not physical," and then basketball players say the same thing. NASCAR drivers, but then I started playing tennis, and I was like, "Wow, this is a physical, mental game. Like it's just one-on-one, you're mano a mano, and it's just you could play for 3 hours." And I started getting into it and watching Djokovic and watching all these guys play, and just seeing the amount of execution it takes to be at that level was just amazing.
Now you mentioned that you come to New Zealand a lot, and that's where we met. I think one of the workers, a Kiwi that worked for the Seattle Seahawks, Dean Riddle, kind of set up you being able to come in, and geez, it was a bit of a last minute thing that you came into the Blues when we were there, and you created a bit of a stir. We didn't realize, that all of a sudden, Michael Bennett's in New Zealand. He wants to come watch training. So we stopped training, welcomed you in, and and you stayed for 3 hours. You just walked around, and what I noticed is you just talked to everybody. You wanted to know how everyone was. Wanted to know how our system worked, and your connection with New Zealand, and obviously as we've talked through, your wife Pele, part Samoan. Do you want to talk just a little bit of your connection with New Zealand?
Man, so the first time when I went to New Zealand, actually this is the first thing my wife told me. She said when you move, because I live in Hawaii, and my wife said when you go to Hawaii, you're gonna want to move to Hawaii, but then when you go to New Zealand, you're going to want to leave Hawaii and move to New Zealand. And I have to say she was completely right. It's two different feelings. I mean, I think New Zealand, Hawaii has more of a tropical feeling. New Zealand has some tropical aspects, but it just has this mesmerizing feeling of like God was just playing around and carving out things that aren't supposed to exist, and they're just there. The way that the mountains are, the way that the river flows, some of these unorthodox hills. You know, when I was looking at Lords and Rings, and I start to like, I'm like, well, Peter didn't really have to, make up some of that stuff. That's like some of the land that's already there in New Zealand. So that's it. My wife's family's from New Zealand. A lot of her family lives in New Zealand, and so it just my connection to New Zealand. It was very peaceful for me. I think like after a football season to go to New Zealand for a while and spend some time with my friends in New Zealand, spend some time in Wellington, go down to Queenstown, Hawke's Bay, Hamilton, Rotorua, and just kind of just go around and just be there. And I love Auckland too. Obviously, Auckland has this New Yorkish vibe, and I'm also down in Ponsonby having a meat pie, and so I'm just there, just chilling, jalapenos. We have ice cream there, and like it's just things that I just love about New Zealand. It's just really nice. It reminds me of Seattle a lot as far as like how the waters sit in Auckland. But yeah, I just have a real connection because the indigenous people there, the Maoris, and just how the culture is just so strong, and this just this sense of peace and tranquility that they possess, the humility that they have. I love the culture. I love everything about it, this warrior aspect of it. But usually warriors don't have any humbleness about them. But the thing I like about New Zealand and the Maori culture is that even though they're warriors, they have a sense of humility. And I think that's very strong when you think about it, because sometimes you want to be an alpha male, but you don't know how to bring other people along. And I think that's the thing I like about the Maori culture. And just looking at all the different Pacific Islanders there, spending time in, even though the water's cold as hell, like I don't understand why I'm like, is there so many nice water in Wellington, but nobody can get in there, So, but yeah, like I said, I spent a lot of time in New Zealand. But yeah, my wife is like, her family's there, so they're all over, and I just love going back and forth. And obviously, I always hang out with you, hang out with everybody in New Zealand that I know. So I enjoy it. But the thing I like about that I wanted to learn from rugby was that I enjoy watching and tackling and understanding the game and the strength that it plays. Like I never understood like the game and the way that they train, the similarities of the NFL and the similarities of rugby and the connection to team. I love the idea of team, right? This idea that, one sacrifices for the other. In architecture, we talk about parts to the whole, and how the whole of the car is just the car, but without the screw is just a screw. It isn't until all the pieces come together that you get an actual moving car with everything that's working together. And I think when you look at team, it isn't a great team till all the pieces are working together. There's some people that have a great shooting guard, they have a great quarterback, but the offensive line isn't good enough. Or it's just like this when you look at rugby, like the scrum and everybody pushing and everybody working together, the ability to know that you're going to get tackled, and just at that last moment you flip it. There's something about that I love, and I like watching everybody training and just watching all that.
Did you I know it's totally different as a defensive end as yourself. You're a very good defensive end, and you very rarely get to touch the ball. Did you want to play rugby? Did you ever get a chance?
I never got to play rugby, but after I went, I was telling my wife, I was like, you know what? After I retire, let's just move to New Zealand. I could play for rugby for a little bit, or at least try. Try and see, because it's like I like that the big guys get a chance to get the ball. There's always the big guys running, and and then I never knew who Sonny was, and I started looking up Sonny. I was like, wow, Sonny's just knocking people out here, like with no pads on, like. So it was interesting to see like the big guys get a chance to run the ball, and I was kind of like, oh, I would love to, try that. But my wife was like, no, you just left one physical sport, go play something else.
Yeah, and because there's I remember we were talking, and there was a few NFL players that would go play a bit of rugby in the off season just to keep fit.
Yeah, I think it's like Nate. I played with him in New England. He was a very good athlete, and I know he loves rugby. He's always been playing, and I think America has been for a while trying to get better at rugby. I think they did good at the sevens for a little bit in the Olympics a little bit, but as far I think that they're trying to grow the sport of rugby. But I think all the big people in America, they either playing football or they're playing basketball. So finding a way to make rugby popular in America, I think that's something that people are working on. I think what they say, rugby's, is it a gentleman's game? Is that what they say? Like, yeah. So it's like, yeah, like, so they're trying to get it right and trying to get more people involved, but I think it's going to take some time to really change the culture and get people to understand the concept of the game, because the game is different, but it's almost kind of the same. It's like we're doing the same things, but our formations are spread out. Our formations the play stops. Think about the rugby that makes it really competitive to me is that it's a continuation. It never ever really stops. You just keep running and running at the beer and tip top shape.
I think in saying that, there's one thing I'd like to know, and how do you develop into playing football? Because where we see it, you've got that choice of American football or basketball. They don't have clubs for American football. I think you were saying, it's either you go through college and you become a professional, or you don't play anything. So how did you get into it?
Yeah, I think we have little. Actually, the way I got into football is that I'm from Louisiana, and my grandpa had a lot of land or whatever. So we always used to work on the farm and do things. And then we had a little field that was about 50, 60, 70 yards. And we would play against other kids. And that's how I really learned how to play football. I played some flag football, but we played tackle football with no pads. And that's kind of how I started playing football. Really, it's very similar to rugby. And we were tackling and throwing people on the ground. But that's how I learned in my grandpa's front yard, really just playing out there. That's really what I really got my skills at, is playing with my older cousins, playing with everybody. And then I started playing in middle school, but there's no league where how in Barcelona or Real Madrid, where they have these programs and you kind of keep going and going and going. And next thing you know, you're like Messi or something. But no, it's kind of it's every tier people drop off and you go up to another level, and then it gets more competitive, and then it gets more competitive until there's no more, until you reach the highest level, and that's the NFL. But yeah, college was really hard because it's you go from being in your high school and being the best, and then all of a sudden it's you're at Texas A&M, and these are people, the best player from New York, the best player from LA, the best player from, it's oh my God, there's a lot of good players out here. But you have to grow that sense of hunger too.
And I see you've got a talented family, because your younger brother followed you as well. So, when you're talking about in that front yard, was there a bit of rivalry there as well? Or did you just look after him on the way up?
I always looked out for my brother. I think we've always never had a competitive bone against each other. I think it's always been true, genuine love. And there's always, as a bigger, older brother, you always feel a sense of protection for your younger brother, your younger siblings. And I was the oldest boy, so I had a lot of responsibilities for the family. But the crazy part is that a lot of my cousins were actually better than me, but they just didn't do well in school, or something happened. They got caught up in the wrong things. They were actually they were better than us. I think back, man, they were so athletic. But me and my brother, we just always teamed up with each other and kind of dominated. In high school, we both played DN, and then the tight end got hurt, and then he started playing tight end. And that's really how when he went to offense, and I just stayed on defense. I was a running back too for a long period of time myself.
I think that's that pathway, the process of high school to university, and making sure that you have to hit those grades. That's something that we don't have in rugby, and that you can go straight out of high school, which is our college, and at 17 or 18 or 19, you can sign a professional contract. Yet, this is what we're talking about around. But then when you come back around, and you finish the playing, some of our guys, or some of our players are left, well, what do I do now? Unlike your pathway over there in the States, when you have to get the university, do you have to have finish with a degree, or do you just keep pushing that through as you go through?
It just depends. I always say though, just wealth doesn't equal wisdom. And I think sometimes you sign these early contracts, and people think because you reach a certain amount of wealth that means that you have a lot of wisdom. And I think when you're young, that's just not true. You know, you're 17, they give you this money, or you're 21, you get this money. Like, you're bound to make mistakes because your maturity level for the what you're getting, you're not ready for that, you know. But people expect you to be ready for that. They expect you to lose some of it, but they're just trying to extract talent from you because they want to exploit you. And every relationship with sports, in some ways, it always feels like it's you being exploited, right? And when you finish, you realize that you have been exploited. You're like, wait, nobody's spending time with me to teach me how to count my money. Nobody's spending time with me. I can learn how to read and work with somebody. And I think that's what makes it very difficult, because even when you're in college, you kind of run into a situation. It's like, am I here to play football, or am I here to go to school? And I think you just have to find that great balance. Well, you don't always have to finish with a degree. A lot of guys don't finish with degrees, or they go back and they try to finish their degree. But there's definitely something to be said about young people discovering talents or coming together to discover a discipline so they can mature over a lifetime. You know, it happens a lot when you retire. You get to this place, as you know, you retire from two things. Most people never retire for one thing, but you've had two retirements and going to your third life. And I think that's very hard, because you get to this place where you're like, what is my purpose? I think we all have a purpose, and we're all searching to fulfill that purpose and fulfill that need to want to leave some type of legacy. I think especially when you're in sports, you can get caught up in materiality. And I think materiality, the thing about material things is, even when you die, they never perish. They stay here. Metal stays, gold stays. Even the richest person, like my owner, the owner of the not my owner, but the owner of the team, the Seahawks, he died and left, $6 billion or $36 billion. I don't know. But the money stayed here. But it's all about the legacy, because the spirit is the legacy. And like, the spirit that you are connected to other people, you leave a sense of your DNA, your legacy in your community. Whatever you do, you could fulfill your purpose that way. And I think a lot of times we don't talk about fulfilling our purposes, and that becomes a big issue for a lot of guys, because they're thinking that, them playing rugby is their purpose. But really, rugby is a talent, and you fulfilling somebody else's purpose and somebody else's need. I think the deep need to want to go deep into yourself and reflect on your trials and tribulations and what you sacrificed and how you are turning into what you want to be. That's a journey that's never stops. It's a constant evolution that we experience as human beings. The feeling of never stopping, and the feeling of that cup never being filled. And I think sometimes when you're an athlete, you have this cup, and you're used to having other people pouring in the joy, the other people pouring in the love, the other people pouring in the money, the gratitude, all these things, and they start to fulfill your cup. But really, that cup that you have has a little small hole in it, and then it starts to leak, and you realize that all this love and all these different things that people are putting in the cup it's not the love that you have for yourself. So finding a way to love self is very hard for a lot of athletes, because the love that we get comes from a crowd. It comes from everything that our skill, but nobody really loves who we are, because even when we step out of character, people are like, hey, get back in character.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to be doing that, man. What are you doing? You're talking. You just catch the ball, So that's a conflict that every human has, and has to reflect on a lot of times.
Yeah, I hear you there. Talking to a lot of young players in my time as a coach, a lot of their purpose at that stage was always to provide. I want to make my family proud. I want to provide for my family. Yet, as you know, as soon as you become part of that team, you're providing because you've signed that contract for the X amount of years. Or so what's next? You're like, how are you going to push yourself to keep providing, or how are you going to find another purpose actually that's going to benefit yourself? Because you do need something that burns within to keep driving you. Otherwise, you can provide because you've achieved that first contract that'll pay out for a year or 2 years. And so what's going to happen after that? How do I sustain myself to keep providing, but also, how can I look after myself and get something out of it for me as well? And because we're dealing with such young men at our stage, they find that hard to fathom because of what you said, the crowds, the accolades that come across, the people that want to be their friends all of a sudden, or are telling them that, the pats on the back and yeah, you're the greatest, you're doing so good. And then, it's not until they have a bit of adversity or a fall from grace that they realize, oh, actually, I think, I think it put it in your words, their cup, all of a sudden it's got a big hole in it and all the love's gone. And then, they're still looking for that love instead of looking inside themselves for that and being happy with themselves.
Yeah, it's a thing that I think a lot of athletes, we don't talk about, because it's like, I mean, being an athlete is very difficult too, because it's like you never want to show any weakness, right? But I think it's not that it's weak; it's a sense of vulnerability to let other people know that what you're experiencing, and that your experience, that you don't have to suffer alone in that experience, because everybody that's an athlete has felt that. I talked to Drew Brees. He's like, "Oh, what am I doing next?" He's a guy that's been a Hall of Famer and done everything, but still, he's the highest on the totem pole, and even he's experienced what somebody who's on the lowest of the totem pole experience. So our experiences are reciprocal to each other, and I think a lot of athletes just have to wake up and know that we are not the title that comes that says athlete is not who we are. The first thing that we are is human, and I think that's what we have to really connect to. Like you're saying, I think that's something that I pray that we move forward on it. And like you said, the accolades, they clear you up, and your foundation becomes weak, and you start to live horizontal, right? You start to look left, you start to look right, and you just kind of like, oh, what's so and so doing next to me? And it's like you're not living vertically, and I think vertically is when you're looking up and you're only worried about how you and how your family is doing and what God has for you and what that really means as a human. Yeah, it's just interesting too. I always think that the players who become coaches, what is that experience like? How do you experience that? Like that experience of like being on the other side. It's like you're in the middle because you know both sides, and it must be a hard conflict to have that knowledge, the knowledge of the other side of other players.
Yeah, no, it's good in some aspects because you know an excuse when you hear it because yeah, I've used that before. And when they're pulling your leg a bit, but there's also that, like you say, that empathy, that understanding of what they're going through. I think also, Michael's times have changed too. When we first started to what's acceptable then to what's acceptable now in terms of how coaches speak to our players, how much care we have to have for them. Because they are young, they're young people who need to be guided. Yet, our young people are very knowledgeable because they live in a technical world where the answers are at a few presses of a button and at their fingertips. So, and we have to make very sure that what we're giving and the advice we're giving is true, comes from the heart and comes from that experience, and making sure that this is our view, this is the one view because of the experiences I've lived. I'm not telling you that this is the way it is for everybody, and the opinions of a coach differs. What I think of you could be different from what the next coach will think. He might want something else, and you've got to understand that you can't live vicariously through every coach, through those opinions. And I think that's probably something that we need to learn as coaches too, is that, how much how you do hold, especially as a professional coach, a lot of power to influence young people, and because we have to judge them. We talk about no judgment, but we have to judge them every week, every day they come to training, how they turn up. And then when we pick and select the side in the weekend, we're judging, who's going to do the job for us this weekend. Yet we've got to make sure that those that don't, we've got to let them know, hey, you're not out of the picture. You've just got to keep working on this. Give them something.
That's the worst thing in the world. Like when a coach says, "Hey, we're going to cut you," but it's not you. It's us. You're like, what? Like, it's like, what does that even mean, coach? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It would make you feel good.
Hey, look, I'd like to talk about that too. We don't probably hasn't hit rugby as such, but the cutthroat nature of the NFL and the NBA. What we say, you could be with one team one week, and then all of a sudden you're up and gone. And how does that work? And how do you deal with that?
Man, it's really hard. I remember my first year, I was with uh, Seattle, and I had just bought. I remember started. I had got my whole check. I was like, I told my wife it came up. We got an apartment, got everything, and like I was like, oh, I spent everything to get a place, get my daughter some stuff, get my wife some stuff, and just kind of, and then I got cut, and I had to be gone. And the next morning to Tampa Bay, so I had to fly all the way to Seattle from Seattle to Tampa Bay. They wouldn't give us our money, so it's like they wouldn't give us our money back. It's like so we were stuck in that middle ground where that happens a lot, where you have to just get up and go. Like your wife has to be able to have an understanding that at any moment you can like it could be over. Like even my first 2 years, like I never after that got cut and that happened to me, I was living in a hotel. I was like, I'm like just live in a hotel until I could get make sure that I'm on the team or whatever. But yeah, that sense of never feeling comfortable. I also think the sense of not being feeling comfortable, it also that kind of makes some people play better, but at the same time, it's just very difficult in that situation where you feel like there's no sense of home, there's no
Mm.
sense of stability. And I think that makes it really hard for a lot of people who look at sports and they don't know that a lot of people in NFL or NBA or rugby, maybe there's a 15% of the team who has stability because their checks or their contract is so big, it doesn't matter what they do, they'll still be on the team. But mostly everybody else doesn't have that experience.
And do you just, so as you said, you've been training, you've got all the gear, you just leave it. I've got to move now, and
Just
you're
gotta
just
charge
up
it
and
to the
go.
game. You just up and go. There's a part of you get traded. It's just like you really don't have any part because you don't own your likeness, like when you're in every sport, because you signing your rights away as a individual, and you're like, oh, I'm playing for the Blues, and it doesn't matter when I'm playing for the
Mm.
Blues, they have control of my future, and whatever team you are on. So it's like you really don't have no sense of ownership of your own self, and I think sometimes not having a sense of ownership of yourself can feel a little depressing. It can feel overwhelming. So that makes it really difficult for me.
I think that importance. I'll go back to So you went to university, Texas A&M. What did you study there, and have you used that degree in your life
No,
after?
no. I was studying sociology and agriculture, and no, I really didn't. I mean, I think everybody's a sociologist. I mean, we look at people, we perceive people, we look at people, and we make judgment. We understand the difference. We're all sociologists in some ways, but
We're all
I feel like
coaches.
no, not since the no, and this now I didn't use it. So now I think I'm at the position where I'm just looking to find what makes me happy and makes me want to get up every day and try to have a sense of challenge to myself. And I found that in architecture and design. So I've been doing a lot of design stuff and working at the design school and just kind of figuring out how to change my community or change the perception of my community through design. And I find that's where I feel the happiest at, and where I'm finding a lot of meaning in life and a lot of purpose is being able to be a part of design, making furniture, making different pieces, learning how to work on buildings. That's all that kind of stuff because I feel like that's something that I've always been passionate about. And now that I have time, which it takes a lot of time,
Mm.
um, is really great.
Were you able
But
to
yeah.
during your playing career, were you able to do that alongside that? Were you looking at your architecture and your design
No,
life then?
no, I feel like I've always been a designer and architect in some ways, even though I'm not in the sense of being a licensed architect, but like this idea of wanting to create a space or wanting to create a foundation or create these different things and give people opportunities, whereas a culture architect or something that doesn't technically mean building or so I know I never really did the schooling thing while I was playing. I was so into it, but I feel like all the stuff I was doing around it, around the things that I was doing in my foundation, they were connected in some ways when I worked on food sustainability or working on with prison system. Hold on, did my phone? Oh yeah, my headphones died. Sorry.
You're
Give
right.
me 3 minutes.
Oh, good. It's awesome.
Sorry, my headphones died. Can you hear me still?
Yeah, I can hear.
Yeah, so I always felt like I was always doing something in that space or creating. So, but now I just have more time to learn the language and really learn what I was already thinking and how to put that into context and make it make sense. That's been very challenging, but at the same time, it's been very fulfilling because I feel like I've never had to put so much time into something like I did for football that I having to do now, which is different because it's like I just spend so much time in the gym, spend so much time running 8-9 hours, stand up and get massages, and now I'm like stand up doing projects and late in 3 or 4, waiting going to sleep at 2 a.m. working on stuff. But I think there's something, and the challenge of that is that instead of I've already reached a certain amount of success that I don't have to do those things, but at the same time, the rewarding is the discipline to do it, and to find that balance in it. It's very complicated, but just because something is complicated doesn't mean that doesn't mean that it's not worth it. And I think sometimes we look at things and say, "Oh, this is complicated. It's not worth trying." But I think we have to try sometime, And I'm enjoying it, like I said, because like we were talking earlier, it's just like I think when you're an athlete, you're always looking for something, a challenge. And we learn so many skills in athletics that we just have to figure out a way to apply those things into our built environments and our and where we're around, because we're all composed of matter, and we have to figure out ways to take that and form that into something. And that's what I think athletes have a lot of, is they have a lot of this matter, and they have a lot of this Play-Doh. They just need to mold it, because they have all these different skills, but they just need to be able to architect it into something that's salable or malleable to what they're trying to do, and don't get overwhelmed when you have to restart. I think there's a sense of humility that we were talking about earlier about the Maori culture and Polynesian culture in the same. You look at the Samoan culture, there's so many, what's it called? And so many different things that all the Polynesian cultures share. And I think the biggest thing that I love about that they all share is a sense of humility and a sense of pride for culture. And just because in sports, the humility that we have to have is that we have to become naked in a sense. Like we have to shed all our accolades, shed everything that we had, and rebirth ourselves to what we're trying to create. And I think that's the hardest thing for all of us to do. It's like, you remember that time I scored that try? And it's like, that try doesn't fucking matter here. This doesn't matter here. Only this matters. So it's just about those things that make it so complicated sometimes.
Mm. Do you have any of those examples of where you've been able to, transfer those skills from the football across to your business life?
Yeah, I think building teams and having building teams is something that I found that sports have taught me very well. It's like you can look at the point and be like how the team makes, and I think in business you need to be able to do that, because business, as you know, it's not just you in business. Like you get the ball, but it's like there's the manager, the social person. It's like building that team to where you can have a great foundation that you as a business person or the visionary of that business can trust that everybody will articulate what you're trying to get accomplished, or articulate your message, or articulate the philosophy of your business throughout and through as they go out and share your message and your product. And I find that's what I found very thing that I love about is being able to transfer to that, is to be able to be on the team and let go of ego. Because sometimes when you have a business, just because you own it, you think like, I have the ego. Yeah, I know everything because I'm paying for it. But that's not true. There's a sense of ego to let somebody who knows better and who does it better to step in, where you could be able to, learn yourself. And that's something that I find very
very well in my business life now.
Mm. So what businesses are you working on at the moment?
Man, so I have a couple of different businesses.
So you've just cut out. I can't hear you
Got
now.
headphones on back.
Oh,
Yeah, I put the
yeah.
headphones back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a couple businesses. I have a design company that I'm working on called Studio Kerr. Other things I have, I do spec houses. Me and one of my teammates in Seattle, we build houses, and then also I've been investing invested in a lot of African American businesses, such as like Alafia, different types of soap businesses that have great ecosystems. They create a sense of sustainability, not just in product, but also a sense of sustainability and economics, and giving people opportunity to turn their product and giving fair wages to people. Those are all the things that I've been very passionate about and the things that I've been doing, and also working my foundation. So yeah, and I also own Jamba Juices, and so I own a lot of different things. So I'm always working and taking meetings in the morning, and also working on different things like that. And I think find a way to balance those things is always but at the same time, it's great. So I don't know. I feel like, yeah. So those businesses are things that I've been working on, that I've been doing, and yeah. So
Keeps you busy.
yeah, it keeps me busy, and also like, because that's the greatest thing about living in Hawaii. Sometimes that I wake up at 7, it's early, it's still late everywhere else. So I'm waking up at 8, and sometimes I could do all my meetings, and it'll just be 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock because of everybody's 3, 4, 5. So it's good. So I set a lot of meetings up, but it's been good though. Just trying to build in a schedule and getting on that. I think I find that very difficult for a lot of athletes, just finding that schedule to have some sense of balance. And I think it takes a while to figure out what your schedule is going to be and how do you want to exist in the world. I think that's something that's really important, right? Because I think when you're an athlete, you exist in the world as an athlete. But then once you stop playing the athlete, you have to reconfigure and figure out, how do I exist in the world? And I think that's the thing that is challenging for a lot of people.
No, I hear you there. When this goes to air, the All Blacks are playing in Washington, DC. They're playing the USA team.
When is this?
It'll be this next weekend. Well, it'll be when this goes to air, Michael, it'll be tomorrow. But yeah, next week, Washington DC. You reckon you can get across? I'll see if I can get you some tickets.
I need to go there. I tell my wife, let's go to DC. I need to go watch the All Blacks. Well, I love the All Blacks, man. When you guys do the hockey at the beginning, like that's just so it's just so powerful. The funniest moment though with the hockey though is like when the New Zealand basketball team was playing against America in the Olympics, and they did it.
Yeah.
And like James Harden was like, what the hell is going? Have you seen that video before?
Yeah, I have.
That's the funniest video in the world, because they're looking around like, what the hell? Like, what are they doing?
It crept up on them, didn't it?
Yeah, they was like, what is going on in here? But nah, I would love to go to watch the game. I'm hoping to get back to New Zealand soon. I know there's like lockdowns and now the world is changing. But at the same time, I hope to get back there soon. I miss everything about New Zealand. I miss the weather. I miss the food. I miss just the people. I think it's just a great place. I think I feel like I found a lot of solace there. Although there's some crazy shit to do in Queenstown. I was over Queenstown like, what the hell is this? People jumping off the bungee, like just like it's like I was like, this is a psychopath playground. Like you just get kicked off of shit. Like Queenstown is a whole nother extreme. Like you could do anything extreme. You're like, you know what? I want to tie my leg up and do a backflip off a mountain. There's somebody there in Queenstown, you can get it done.
Did you do it?
No, I didn't do that. I did the luge, the racing. I did luge. I did the what else did I do? I did a couple of things on there, but it all was scary though. I didn't do the bungee jump thing. I was too scared to do that. The zip lining was scary because it was just so big. It's like you're not gonna fall in zip lining, but the idea of you thinking that you're gonna fall might be the fear of it probably is a lot more dangerous. But ziplining in New Zealand is crazy. I did do the one thing, and I was thinking in my head, I was like, why would I take my whole family on this? You know, that little boat thing?
Yeah.
And it's like they're driving really fast and then they stop in the Queenstown.
The shot
And
over.
then the guy was like, yeah, people die here all the time. I was like, what are we all doing here? I was kind of scared.
Oh, yeah, no, look, everyone's doing it tough over here at the moment in terms of, the lockdown and not a lot of traveling going, although it's just Auckland that's Auckland and Wellington and Auckland, Hamilton and up north, that are really affected by the lockdowns at this stage. But hopefully we can get on top of it and you can come across, get that double vaccination, passport that everyone's talking about. That's what they're talking about over here. So we'll hopefully we've got to get up to 90%. Yeah.
They got double vaccination there?
Yeah. You get your 2 jabs and then you get the passport to do what you want.
Oh wow, that's crazy. But that's cool. That's cool though. I know that New Zealand, if anybody can get it under wraps, it'll be New Zealand.
Oh, we're working hard at it. You talked about your tennis. So how do you balance your life, and business, that work-life balance? Is it just the tennis or?
Well, I think tennis is I feel like tennis kind of saved me my life and my athletic life. I think I wanted something that was competitive, and I feel like golf is competitive and is very competitive, but tennis, there's like this sense of serenity, like I'm playing chess or live chess. And I think tennis just gave me a second life in athletics. It has allowed me to compete and allowed me to be humble and learn something new and love the challenge of it. I think a lot of people who probably listen to our this show or listen to athletes talk, they love the championship, they love all this stuff, but they don't really talk about the process, the things that come within the process. I think even in the Bible, Jesus talks about that through sacrifice is where you reach righteousness. And I think even when you try to do something, there's a sense of, the process that you take to do that you have to love. And I think that's what I love about tennis, the process of learning and being like, okay, even though I lost, I'm okay with that. I just want to keep getting better at it. And I think that's something that balanced my life. And also just, spending time with my wife. I feel like, and your kids, I think overall, there's nothing more important than that. I think COVID has taught us that family is the most important thing and spending time with that. I think a lot of the times over the years before, we thought like putting our kids in a lot of things and us being in a lot of things was really what family was. But I think we realized that family is ultimately the ability to be with your ones who you love. And when you were doing COVID, when it first started, you were just looking for your family. You were like, where's my kids at? Where's my tribe at? And putting them together and wanting to hold your children and wanting to kiss your wife, wanting to love the other one, making sure that they eat. I think that's what life is all about. I think life is about, being selfless and finding a way to give to others and being an extension of that. I know in Africa sometimes people who die will be turned into a fruit tree. They'll be buried with a fruit tree, a mango tree, or some type of tree. And like that tree, that person's gone, but that tree keeps bearing fruit. And I think that's what life is about. It's about the continuation of giving fruit to your family and love, whatever that fruit is. And I think that's what COVID did for me. And I think that's something that really balances me, is to be able to say, sometimes let me put this down and listen to you. Because I think sometimes as a parent, you have all these distractions to keep you from not listening to your child. And when you look back, that was really the most important thing, was to really just give them your ear.
It's you can't get back that time really with your kids. I think as yourself, as a father and a sports person, you travel a lot. You probably more than me. Yet you miss the sport, you miss the school plays or school recitals, and those are the things that you actually realize are the most important things. You're out there. We think it's, as men, as you talked about, we have to be providers. A bit of an ego that we have to go and do this, and we have to make sure that, as you said, roof over the head, which is important. But you realize sometimes like all they want is dad to be there, just on the sideline, or in the crowd, or just just around, and I thought, like, as you've said, with COVID, it has given us that opportunity to be around a lot more. And I think I figured that out a lot later in my career towards the end, that actually that's important. I want to, with 3 little girls growing up, I wanted to be there for them. And but now they're all teenagers or much older. They don't want to be around you anymore.
I know dad is not cool. Dad is not a cool dad. I don't know. Yeah. What are you wearing, Dad? Get out, get some clothes.
Oh yeah. And my jokes aren't as funny as they used to be.
No, I think that's like you said, it's like, but it's like, I think like being a man has changed in so many ways. There was a time like as a man, you're supposed to act this way, not supposed to be vulnerable. Like you said, providing was the way of you showing love. But like you said, like it's more about us being present than it is about us. And presence that provides a lot. It's the type of things that kids remember, because they don't not gonna remember your lights on. They just gonna remember the dinner that dad paid for. They don't most remember the time that dad sat there and talked to me about what was going on in my life.
It's funny you talk around that vulnerability. It's a big piece now with men, like just dropping that guard down. And I know as a coach, I learned that ability before, where I was do it this way, as I was taught, just do as you're told, and to the stage where actually people become scared of you. And so you actually fear them into, they can't relax, so they can't be the best, or they can't be present and, and be the best version of themselves. So, you have to drop down your guard and, as yourself, people with reputation and have played a lot in the sport, they get this persona, don't they? They get said, well, oh, I can't talk to him. That's so and so. He's done this and been that, and you're just saying, oh man, just be yourself, man. And then they realize, oh, you talk like.
What's so funny? You said that, and it's so funny. I literally was talking to my brother about that this morning, like how there's some people who are alpha males, but the way that they are alpha males, they're very inviting to allow you to be who you are. Like Tom Brady, like that he's the GOAT, but he never acts like he's the GOAT to the way that he allows you to be you. And LeBron James, or all these different people, like Westbrook can play with LeBron James because LeBron James is the type of alpha male that doesn't care who other comes in. There's some people who want to have mark their territory, and they can't even be a good teammate because they're so worried about marking their territory than they are about growing the territory. It's like this ego in their mind. It's like, let me mark this. I don't want anybody to have it. And it's like when you bring somebody else in, they brought there to expand the mind, expand like the Roman Empire, And I think that's why people like Tom Brady, he can go anywhere and invite anybody in, and they feel like, wow, Tom Brady is worth like 500 million, but damn, like he always like, he's so chill. Like he pick up the phone, he call you back. Like there's something about that.
Yeah, that's right. And that's, as you said, just dropping that guard and being a bit more vulnerable. What advice do you have for young men coming through that are trying to chase the dream that you're chasing at the moment? Oh, sorry. Become a professional sports person, and also, what advice would you give them, not just to achieve that goal of becoming a sport person, but, around, looking after themselves for a life after sport as well?
I would tell guys that are, whoever's listening to this, man, woman, whoever, I think, just loving yourself. I think spending time to get to know thyself. I think that's something that I would tell all the athletes, because once you know yourself, you can actually love the world. You can actually love what you're doing. You won't find that false sensibility from others. You'll be able to be strong and stand on your principles. I think that's the hardest thing for a lot of athletes to do, is to have principles. And I think young athletes, build up your core principles and your philosophy about who you are and how you do your things. And that way you can have something to reflect on when tough times happen. Because I'm telling you, every athlete who's listening to this, there's going to be a tough time. There's going to be a moment where you have an injury and you don't know how to get past it. It's going to be a moment where somebody passes in your life. There's going to be a moment where your wife or your girlfriend is stressing you out, you stressing them out, and you and your husband or whoever it is, and you're gonna have to find a way to compete, and you're gonna have to find a way to still be good at the sport. And I think if you can have a sense of principles and philosophies that carry you a long way outside of football, because you could develop a sense of character for what you love, and you could develop a sense of character for the connection and things that make you happy. And I think that's the thing that's really what I would share with a lot of athletes is, get to know yourself, man, make yourself happy.
Yeah, it's important. So sometimes you're just out to please everyone, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
What about, do you have any regrets, any mistakes that you might have made in your football career or business career even?
Yeah, I think the biggest regret I have in sports is, oh man. I mean, I really don't have too many regrets in sports because I feel like I left it out there
Yeah.
and that I was nobody's favorite. I think the biggest business mistake I ever did was not investing in Bitcoin. My friend was telling me about Bitcoin in 2012, and I was like, man, I'm not goddamn investing in some shit I can't see. And I wish that was the biggest regret that I
Is
ever
that
did
right?
was not getting into the Bitcoin, because I could have got early. He showed me his portfolio the other day, and I was so mad. I was like, I'm happy for you, but I'm mad at you, bro, because you were right. You were definitely right. He was definitely right about the Bitcoin.
Oh, jeez. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I don't know anything about that, but I might have to get some tips off you someday around that.
Yeah.
Look, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure as always to have a catch up with you and talk to you, and for you to share a little bit of your story with us. I appreciate it. And what are you up to now? You're home now. You've been out all day playing tennis, or?
And I've been working on a project for school all day, and that's pretty much it. And did a lot of meetings today. But that's it. I did a lot of meetings today. Now that I think about it, when you get older, it's like the day never ends. It's just a small break in between the next day. Like
Yeah.
when you're young, it's like you go to sleep, and it's like you go to sleep, and it's like, oh, it's a fresh new day. But when you old, it's like, oh, I forgot to do this yesterday. It's just like the days are continuously run on sentences that never have a period until you die. And I think that's the thing that I find funny about being an adult. Now that I'm not playing sport, but that's kind of what I'm doing right now, man. How are you doing? How's Michelle and the girls doing? Everything good with you guys?
Yeah, well, no, we're good, thank you. Good, thank you. Just as we talked about, just this lockdown. It started off as a 4-week lockdown. Now I think it's gone into nearly 8 or 9 weeks now. So yeah, so it's gone a bit longer than we thought, and it's funny. We talked around. Someone had a meeting with just a contact in India, and they talked around their 18-month lockdown. So I kind of, retreated back into my, actually, I shouldn't be feeling sorry for myself. We've only been here for 6 weeks, and, they were in 18 months where they actually couldn't leave, their houses. So, yeah, it's a little bit different, as you know, over here in New Zealand. We're used to just going outside when we want and enjoying the fresh air. We're coming into summer. But it has been a little bit tougher, this one, just not being able to get out there. And I think also with all that's happening and in our lives, with the business and things like that. So, but it's working. It's all trucking along. You adapt, and as you mentioned before, we've just got to keep trucking along and keep working at it.
Yeah, I know that. Hey, but at least in New Zealand, you get to eat that good frozen food. That frozen food in New Zealand is so good, man. That frozen chicken, I say Louisiana fried chicken. I was like, man, this ain't gonna taste like no goddamn Louisiana fried chicken, man. Man, I took that chicken out the thing, put in the oven, wash it. This chicken good as hell. Like the chicken was good. Like the pie. So man, at least you got good food. Got good
Yeah,
food, good people, and great wines. There's nothing like some oysters from oyster. There's bluff oysters or some wine
yeah,
from
yeah.
oyster. Like there's so many great, things out there. So the Black Barn. So there's some really great things. You got at least you lock down, like you said. Some people 18 months, and sometimes you look at other people's experiences, makes you appreciate what you have a little bit more.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Michael, it's been an absolute pleasure as always, brother. And I'll let you
Thank you
go.
so much, man.
Thank you for making time for me. than
No
for
problem,
us.
bro. Anything for you.
Oh,
Thank you.
appreciate it. Take care. Bye, bro.